Hi friends, my name is Erin and today I want to talk about the series I worked on in 2024. One of my big goals these last few years is to make sure I am making progress in my series because I do take a while to read them. And so I wanted to kind of look back at 2024 and just kind of check in with that goal. I'm gonna say, just based on the stacks I have to my side, I'm pretty proud of myself. I feel like I started about as many series as I've finished, and I made progress in quite a few. So I'm going to look at 3 categories: started, made progress, and finished series. And I'm also going to kind of talk about ones I may not be continuing on. So I did not start as many series as I thought. I've been pretty bad in the last few years about reading the first book in a series and then not moving on. But I think I did a pretty good job. So here are the series I started in 2024. The first one is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This is a Russian folklore inspired book about a girl who is trying her best to honor the spirits that she was raised to believe in, even though her new stepmother wants to bring in a new era of religion. I really enjoyed this first book and I do definitely plan on continuing it, although I don't know that it's the highest priority for me. On audiobook, I listened to This Savage Song, which is a V.E. Schwab YA story about 2 separate cities and kind of a rivalry to different political beliefs, and the daughter and son of those 2 sides who end up meeting up and a little bit of romance ensues. I love V.E. Schwab. She's a great storyteller. This one felt very impactful. It is a duology, so I'm hoping to finish that soon. I've got the other one in my audiobook wish list. However, I read some spoilers that make me almost just not want to finish the series. I kind of want to just keep what I know so far alive in my mind, but I definitely will be eventually finishing this. I started Foundryside. I actually am the second book here because I've given the first one. My sister's reading it right now. But I really enjoyed Foundryside. It has a very loose magic system. The shenanigans are a little bit crazy. It feels very heisty. It feels very just like over the top, but also does a really good job at looking at trauma and how trauma can impact people. So you get this very intense dynamic going on. So I went ahead and bought Shorefall. I really love the covers on these. And excited to get to book number 2. One of the series I probably will not be continuing on is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. I definitely enjoyed book number 1. This is a male-male romance involving werewolves, and TJ Klune is a very impactful writer. He puts a lot of emotion into his stories, and I definitely felt that with this book. I just don't feel like I want to continue on with the love stories of other characters in that series. It would follow, the brothers, the friends of that group. Right now, I'm just not as interested. It felt like a good beginning ending to me. And as much as I like the romance, the actual plot was kind of drawn out to me. And so I think his writing style sometimes can be a little bit too slow. So I probably won't continue on. Never say never. I did like the book, but I just don't see myself picking up anymore in the series. I have an omnibus of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I read the first portion or the first book in this. I definitely like it. I could see why it would be considered kind of a classic. I don't know that it was one of my top reads when I read it, and maybe it's because it is a little bit older, but I do want to continue and just kind of get the full arc of this book going, especially since I already have the complete collection, and I do really like this edition. I also started The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, which I really enjoyed. I've had this book on my shelf for a long time. My sister, I let her borrow it before I read it, and she's, I think, read the whole series at this point and really enjoyed it. So she's been waiting for me to get to this one. It involves a human who was taken to the fairy realm when she was very young, and has been dying to just kind of find her place. She wants to fit in. A part of her wants to fit in, and a part of her wants to rebel. So in this first book, you really get both sides of that, and she makes some big political moves that have very intense consequences. And the end of book one, a lot is happening. A lot is happening. I think I'm excited for the potential of this, but I do feel like I've heard people say the series kind of dropped off. That has me a little bit worried, but I'm gonna just write it out, I think. Another series I will not be continuing is Outlander. I read the first book in this. I feel like it's such a popular series. It has a whole TV show. I just had a really hard time buying into the romance of this. It felt very jarring because, so basically this girl time travels back in time. So she has a husband in present day and she's falling in love in the past. It felt like I didn't get enough of the struggles of her living in the past. I certainly would not be able to go back a time without some complaints. It just would be a lot harder, and I feel like that was completely not in the book. And every time there would be an interaction, a romantic interaction, I felt like she'd be really, really into it, and then feel really, really guilty, and we just kind of yo-yoed back and forth between the two, and it just didn't work for me. So I will not be continuing on with Outlander. I started this duology, The Golem and the Genie. It is a very slow book. However, I do think I was intrigued enough to pick up book 2. This follows a golem and a genie who are trying to pretend to be human, or forced to pretend to be human, in New York. The genie is trying to find a way to get back to his people. The golem is trying to learn how to be independent, and what does that mean for a golem whose very existence is kind of following another person's command. So they find each other, realize that both of them are unique, and slowly build this sense of trust between the two of them. Again, it was very, very slow for my taste, but for some reason I really enjoyed this more than I do some of the other books that are very similarly written. It just happened to work for me. I already have book 2. I again really love the cover, just a little bit of gold and kind of this dark, ominous backdrop. One I will not be continuing is That Time I Got Drunk and Needed a Love Potion at a Werewolf. This is one I picked up, and it has 2 others in the series. They're kind of one of those romance series where you follow different characters, so you can read them out of order. However, there are definitely spoilers in this one, which is book 2. This is not a type of romance I enjoy, mainly because there is no longing, there is no buildup. It is straight into the romance of it all. For me to be believable, there has to be a little bit of that build up. So it was a fun read, but I don't feel like I need to buy the other ones despite how silly and fun their titles are. The last one, and maybe honestly the one I'm most excited to continue, is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. I really love this author. I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talking about her. She does really good retellings. I've read the Faithless Hawk series by her, and this is a retelling of The Goose Girl, where you actually follow the point of view of the maid who took the Goose Girl's identity. You realize why she did it. I will say at the beginning, the main character is very insufferable, and I almost couldn't handle it. I was like, man, I'm really not loving this. And not even a third of the way in, it kind of transforms a little bit. That gets tapered down a little bit, and it turns into rivalry to romance style, where there is a detective who knows something is off about this maid but can't quite figure out what, and at the same time he keeps being impressed by her. There is very dark magic, there is that sense of detective, there is a retelling, so it just kind of hits all the marks for me. A little bit of romance, and I definitely will be picking up the next books in these series. Let's move on to ones I've made progress in. Starting with Spy Family. I've been reading this manga set for a minute. I think I discovered it maybe middle of 2023. Somewhere in there. So I am up to volume 7. I'm finished volume 7, and I do have volume 8 and 9 on my shelf. I love these. I can usually read them in one sitting, maybe 2. This is a manga about a spy whose next mission he needs to have a family to be able to complete. So he quickly marries someone and adopts a child. He doesn't know that the person he married is an assassin, and the child he adopted has mind powers to read minds. She knows what's going on, even though she's too young to really understand the consequences of it. And they are infiltrating a school so that they can meet this little kid's dad. Who has a lot of political power. I really enjoy this series. It's so fun. It's just fun. Next up, I've actually been listening to these on audiobook, but I did get this copy for Christmas. Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Book 1 was pretty good. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue, but I'm really glad I did because book 2 was so good. I loved it, and it has me really excited to keep going in that series. I'll probably continue on audiobook. I'm really enjoying that, and buying the books as well because I feel like if it's a really good audiobook, I want to have it on my shelf. You know? Another graphic novel, I'm up to Saga Volume 6. Maybe not gonna flip through this one because there is some explicit content in this. The backdrop for this is a galactic war. Two people from opposing sides have fallen in love and had a child, and the government from both sides, neither of them want people to know that this child exists, because if the child exists, that means that the two sides could get along, and they don't want anyone to come to that conclusion. So you're following them as they are fleeing from all sorts. Assassins, governments, robots, I mean, just everything. Definitely explicit content, but also definitely really worth it. Alright, I am almost finished with this trilogy that is Castle in Their Bones. I've been listening to an audiobook, and it involves 3 sisters who were raised by their mother to basically marry into royal families so that she can become an empress. And they go off and in book 1 marry the people they've been destined for and slowly start to become disillusioned to their mother's ways. Some of the sisters do. Book 2 was really good. I think it is a little bit slow, especially because their personalities still feel very set in book 2. I want a little bit more growth, but I'm interested to see how it all wraps up, so hopefully I'll be listening to book 3 this year. Brandon Sanderson's Skyward is next up. I've read books 1 and 2, and I'm now at the point where you start reading some of the novellas. Unfortunately, I've heard mixed reviews about the novellas, and so I'm trying to decide if I want to read them or just skip to book 3. I need to do some research to see if that's advised or not. City of Brass is the first book in this series. I have not read this one, actually. This is the third one, Empire of Gold. I really liked book 1. I was less invested in book 2. Very curious to see where the main romance is headed, because I feel like it could go a few different directions, and there's one way I feel like would just kind of be a disservice to the series, let's say that. But this has to do with a girl who enters Daevabad with a djinn who has a lot of history in this city, and she gets caught up in this royal family and their politics. It has very severe consequences at the end of book 1. So again, just want to see how it all wraps up. I have been listening to The Expanse on audiobook. They are long audiobooks, but also very good. I think it really helps because they are kind of big books. I remember listening to book 1 and thinking I was at the end and realizing I was only, 2/3 of the way through. And so I think letting myself slowly continue those stories via audio has been really helpful. I've listened to books 1 and 2, so book number 3, I don't know the title, but it's next up on the list. This is Day of Ice by Andrew Lane. It is part of the Robert Crusoe adventures. I really liked book 1. Book 2, I was pretty unhappy with, but I will probably read book 3 because they are short enough that I feel like I may as well finish the series. I have Pierce Brown on the list, even though I have read Morningstar, which officially ends the first trilogy. There is a follow-up trilogy that I want to read, so I still consider myself like in the middle of this universe, if that makes sense. I will hopefully be picking up the start of the next trilogy this year. I know there are a few people who are really excited for me to keep moving with this. Also, this is one of the best trilogies of the year for me, and so I do really just want to keep reading in this universe. Another graphic novel, this one has beautiful art. This is Monstrous by Marjorie Liu. I think I've read up to book 5 now. I struggle with this a bit because there is such intense plot lines. I love the art and I do enjoy the storyline, but it's almost too hard to keep up with in this format for me. I've had to go back and reread or read a synopsis every time I've picked one of these up, which I could just read them faster. It's just not my style. That being said, I am intrigued. I like where it's going, and again, the art is just gorgeous and so intense. Okay, there are 2 series I started rereading in 2024, even before 2024, and that is Sabriel and Artemis Fowl. Both were ones I really enjoyed when I was younger, and I wanted to see if Artemis Fowl lived up which it does. And Sabriel, I mean, my channel is named after it. I just really love this universe. And there are more books in this universe that I haven't read. It's like one of my all-time favorite necromancy books. And so I just want to read the entire scope of the world instead of like the first trilogy. Okay, this is one I'm not sure if I'll continue with. This is The Black Company by Glenn Cook. I read the first 3 books, really liked them. It is dark, it is gloomy, it is really good grimdark. It depicts war through the eyes of a chronicler, and the villains are good villains. I started the second set of 3 and it just fell flat. A lot of the premise for the war was kind of missing. Instead of a whole new set of villains, we're kind of just bringing back the old ones. I wanted something new, and I just felt like the depictions of some of the characters was off for me. There's one more short story collection in this omnibus that I'm going to read and kind of see how I feel after that to decide if I want to continue on. This series has been a companion of mine for a few years now. Hopefully I will finish in 2025. This is The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I've read book 12, so I only have 2 more left. For whatever reason, with each book, it just gets more intimidating to me, and I just need to buck up and read them, because every time I finally open one of these books, I just love it. I love tabbing it. I love each character's progression. I just really enjoy the story. It is totally worth it. But I struggle to make that initial leap into picking up these books. 2 more left. The next one is Crescent City. I've read books 1 and 2. I love these. I have finished most of the Sarah J. Maas universe that is out right now. I have 1 book left, and that is House of Flame and Shadow. So I really would love to just be caught up so I can enjoy the hype of the next book, whatever it may be coming out. Okay, the last book in this section is Neal Shusterman's Scythe series. And I've said this before, but I was just going to read the first one and then stop there because I was kind of happy with where it ended, and I was worried I was going to drop off. Misplaced, because book 2 had such an impactful villain moment that it has stuck in my mind and ended up in my top reads of 2024. And so I'm so glad I just happened to pick up the next book, and now I need to finish this series off. Although I hear there may be like a prequel coming. I'm not huge on prequels, so we'll see. All right, let's get to the main event. These are series I finished in 2024. I'm pretty proud of myself, not gonna lie. So starting us off, I have The Mysterious Benedict Society. If you are looking for a really good middle grade series, this is it. I love this series. All 4 books are good. It's just fun. It is about 4 orphan geniuses who solve a villain's riddles. There's great found family. It's fun to try and solve the riddles with them and figure out what's happening with them. There's some really good gadgets. There's some really good inventions. And yeah, it's just good all around. If you need a good middle grade, this is it for sure. All right, I'm counting this as finished even though it's not a finished series. I'm just caught up with Lore Olympus. I don't need to say much. I dote on this series all day, every day on my channel. So if you like mythology, check this out. Speaking of Sarah J. Maas, here is Throne of Glass. I finally read Kingdom of Ash this year. I got this book, I'm pretty sure when it came out. You can tell because I think this cover is like the first iteration. I have at least 3 different types of covers on these books because I'm reading this series so slow. But it is finally done and I love every second of it. Great characters, great finale. Just beautiful. All right, I have 2 duologies up next. The first one is 6 Crimson Cranes, which I listened to on audiobook. This is a retelling of the story of the girl whose brothers get turned into cranes by a witch. I really liked the take on this. It gives some rationale to different characters in the story. I will say I really liked book 1 and book 2 was good, but I feel like it was drawn out. Again, it just kind of suffered from dragging on a little bit, and it felt like we just kept putting obstacles in place to prevent the ending of the book, or like to make the book longer. So book 1, definitely worth it. Book 2, it's a duology, so you may as well finish it. I was a little bit disappointed, but I still think overall, it's worth a read. Then I have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I read this, and then I also read or listened to Bookshop and Bone Dust, and both of them are just beautiful. Cozy, everything you can want out of a cozy read. I think this is what, in my mind, launched that cozy read genre that's been really popular lately. I feel like this is, in my mind, this is just the standard. I also finished the Binti trilogy by Nnedi Okorafor. I read this short story a few years ago, so I didn't leave this one sitting for too long. Book 1 was amazing. Book 2 was really good as well. Book 3, I didn't quite like the ending as much. I felt like we were just adding too many pieces unnecessarily. I still think it was 100% worth a read. Illuminae Files, I finished that one as well. This is a really fun book because it has very different types of writing throughout, so it makes it a really exciting read every time. There are 4 books in this series. I finished book 4 this year. All of them, again, really held up. They all felt unique, even though they followed that similar writing style. You get one of those finales where the main characters from each book are coming together at the end, and you're also getting some new characters. Book number 1 is probably still my favorite though of all of those. This one is a fun one for sure. Okay, 2 more, and they both have beautiful covers. This is A Magic Steeped in Poison. I bought this from Barnes & Noble because it was supposed to be a completed duology, and so I made a point when I bought this book to finish the series quickly, and I did. I don't own book 2, and I'll probably just keep book 1, even though it is such a gorgeous cover. This is about a girl who performs her magic through tea, and she's in a competition to be the official tea master for the royal family. In book 1, things go awry. But I do feel like book 1 was better than book 2. I really liked the competition aspect. I liked the tea magic more in book 1. I feel like the way they handled the final battle felt a little bit contrived. But it wasn't bad. I still am excited, and I gave both of them a higher than, I think I gave this one 4.5 and the other one 3.5, so still very solid reads. Lastly, I finished Shadow of the Fox. I have all 3 of these books on my shelves, but I did listen to them on audiobook. However, they were good enough that I wanted to buy them. This involves a kitsune who has a scroll that comes with terrible power. It grants a basically unlimited wish to anybody who can combine the 2 pieces of the scroll on this certain day every 1,000 years. Last time it was put together, it was used for horrible evil, and they're still trying to basically recover from that. And so she is trying to make sure in these books that no one gets their hands on this scroll. And she's a little kitsune who needs a lot of help. I think her helplessness in book 3 was more frustrating than in books 1 and 2. But yeah, there's a little bit of romance, kind of a found family aspect to it, which I really enjoyed. Book 1, again, was my favorite, but all 3 really hold up. So that's it. I don't have necessarily series goals for 2025. I just want to make sure that if I do this video again at the beginning of next year, that I feel like I've made progress. And I think I can check that off. This time, I definitely finished some series and I continued some series. I made sure to prioritize some series. So overall, that's the goal. Let me know what your priorities are. Did you finish any major series in 2024? Do you have any you're prioritizing this year? I would love to know. Bye, friends.